Thanks for joining me on episode 340 of the Inspired Stewardship Podcast.
Hey there, I'm Cassidy Cash, the host of That's Shakespeare Life. If you'd like to impact the world one day like Shakespeare, one way to do that is listening to this. It's Inspired Stewardship Podcast with my friend Scott Mater.
Our measure of success is determined not by what we create, but by what we consume, by what we own, by what we take. Not by what we give, not by how we serve, not by the heart that we have for others and for the relationships we have with them. We're taught that.
Welcome and thank you for joining us on the Inspired Stewardship Podcast. If you truly desire to become the person who God wants you to be, then you must learn to use your time, your talent, and your treasures for your true calling. In the Inspired Stewardship Podcast, you will learn to invest in yourself, invest in others, and develop your influence so that you can impact the world.
In today's episode about investing in yourself through stewarding your treasures, I talk with you about the difference between working and living like it all depends on you, why you need to work your faith but also live it, and why it's easy to get out of alignment when you're working on this in your life.
As we talk about stewarding your treasures, wouldn't it be great if you could support this podcast and do it without costing yourself an extra dime? Turns out you can. All you have to do is use inspiredstewardship.com/Amazon when you're ready to make a purchase via Amazon, and a small commission will come back to support the show. If you enjoy the show when you're ready to buy from Amazon, just use inspiredstewardship.com/Amazon.
You might have heard the expression, pray like it all depends on God and work like it all depends on you. I like to say work like it all depends on you, but don't actually live like it does. And what I mean by that is the truth is when we look at how most of us work, we go through life and we treat everything as if we are the only person that everything depends on. We have to pull ourselves up by our bootstraps. We have to build our own habits. We are both the authors of our own success and sometimes the author of our own failures. We are the center of our own universe in a very real way. We work where everything revolves around us and who and what we are. But the truth is that there's a huge difference between really just working like it depends on you and believing that it all depends on you. Believing in your heart of hearts that at the end of the day, everything is up to you. There is no higher power. There is no God. There is no anything else that you can depend on. You can't depend on other people. You can't depend on the government. You can't depend on institutions. You can't depend on anyone to help you out. It's all up to you. There is nothing else that you can depend on. And if you really live like that, if you live like it all depends on you, then you generally end up burned out, frustrated, angry, tired, and a little bit bitter rather quickly. Because the truth is, it doesn't all depend on you. It never all depends on you. There are higher powers. There is the ability to depend on others outside of yourself. There is a need to have a faith in the universe, to believe that God and other whatever universal power you want to put it on, that there is something bigger than you. There is a purpose. There is a mission to your life. There is a calling and a cause that you are meant to follow and do. And that doesn't just come from inside of you. It also comes from outside of you. We've talked before about how it depends on the relationships you have with yourself, the relationships you have with others, the relationship you have with God. And believing in those faith relationships, believing in that relationship that you have with others is the first step to working on your faith. It's the first step to realizing that there is other things outside of you, and that, yes, you need to work hard, and yes, there is a lot that you can and should do, but you need to take responsibility for those things that you can do and let go of those things that aren't yours to deal with. You have to live out the faith relationship that you have with each other, with God, with yourself. You have to not just work, but you have to believe that there are things outside of you and higher powers that you can live your life based on, that there are things that can help you and can walk with you through these battles. You know, the truth is, one of the worst emotions in the world is feeling like you're all alone. We have these times in our lives when we feel that, when we feel like we're all alone. We feel like there's no one else that cares about us, no one else that loves us. I've talked before on the podcast about how there was a period in my life where I was deeply suicidal because of things that were going on in my finances, my faith, and my family. And you've probably had periods, maybe not where you were suicidal, but you've had dark times in your life. You've had times where you felt alone and you truly felt that it all depended on you. But the truth is, even at that darkest time, there was a higher power and there was a purpose behind it. Now, don't get me wrong. I don't say that you've gone through suffering because somebody put you through suffering or God put you through suffering so that you could grow and learn from it. I don't think that it's that simple of an equation. I don't think it's that simple of a relationship. But there is truth that often when you connect the dots looking backward at your life, those moments that you go through of suffering teach you something and allow you to grow in a way that then allows you to deepen your relationship with yourself, with others, and with God, and begin to serve out that faith relationship in a stronger, more powerful way. But it's really easy to get out of alignment in this. It's really easy to start not just acting like it all depends on you, but really believing that at the end of the day, it all belongs to you. It all depends on you. You are the beginning and the end and the middle of the journey. It's easy to get out of alignment. And the part of the reason why is because in the world today, you're surrounded by that message. We're surrounded by the message that it all depends on us, that we are the authors of our own universe, that we are the ones that everything depends on. We are also taught from a very young age that our measure of success is determined not by what we create, but by what we consume, by what we own, by what we take, not by what we give, not by how we serve, not by the heart that we have for others and for the relationships we have with them. We're taught that, but it's wrong. The truth is, the central purpose of your life is to be in relationship with God first, with others second, and with yourself third. But you also have to learn to have a strong relationship with yourself to be able to have a strong relationship with others and to be able to have a strong relationship with God. It's this circular process and path that we take where we learn to be in relationship so that we can be in relationship and so that that relationship can deepen. That's the alignment that allows you to work like it all depends on you, but not actually believe that, to not actually live your life like that's the truth, to not believe that in your heart of hearts, in the core of your being. And that is a way that you can truly walk in relationship with yourself, with others, and with God, and begin to live out your calling. Thanks for listening.
Thanks so much for listening to the Inspired Stewardship podcast. As a subscriber and listener, we challenge you to not just sit back and passively listen, but act on what you've heard and find a way to live your calling. If you like this episode on the stewardship of treasures, You can sign up for our Treasures tips by going to inspiredstewardship.com/treasures or text in the U.S. 44222 Treasures Tips. And we'll send you 5 weeks of our best tips on stewarding your treasures. Until next time, invest your time, your talent, and your treasures. Develop your influence and impact the world.